African time, and we're coming to you live from Johannesburg in South Africa. A Kenyan official says that there are fears that a doomsday cult suspected of causing the death of more than 400 people is making a comeback. Now, the alleged leader, Paul Mackenzie, is on trial. Mackenzie was arrested last year and pleaded not guilty to manslaughter. He allegedly told his followers that they would get to heaven more quickly if they stopped eating. For more on this, Alex Kiarrie, a Channel Africa news correspondent in Kenya, joins us on the line. Alex, good afternoon, and thank you for joining us on Africa Update.
Good afternoon, and also welcome for that. I'm also very happy to join you.
Now, Alex, what do we know so far about Mackenzie's trial, and what has come out from the trial?
Actually, Mackenzie has not been tried yet because of so many legal obstacles that need to be overcome by the state and any family member who seeks justice for their relatives who could have perished in that cult or doomsday cult, as you called it. There are two things that are actually making it very difficult. The fact that there are no laws that legislate or rather govern faith. Most of these people who are involved in this thing were adults who made the choice to follow him thanks to his preachings. And they did it on their own, and therefore it's very, very hard for even the state to find someone to use either as an accomplice or as a witness on the same, because they went there voluntarily, and so far the country is finding itself in a very, very tight situation in terms of litigating this issue because of such technicalities that are involved in the whole situation. And this is the reason why Mackenzie has been boldly calling for his release, because he says he never killed anybody. They joined him voluntarily. And this in itself is now making it very, very hard for even that case to take off officially.
So what sort of measures or what are the legal teams or the authorities saying now? What is their next move?
I know the thing is, right now they just have to keep him away from his followers and members of the public by putting him in custody where he is. And the most unfortunate part of it is that it is now emerging that even behind the bars, he's still able to influence his followers to go back to Shakahola and instigate the same ideologies that caused deaths of over 400 people while still behind the bars, because it's, as I said, it's a matter of faith. In the latest case where we have now the death toll is at 32 after 6 more bodies were exhumed yesterday, and other like 4 body parts suspectedly from 4 individuals, but it's supposed to be confirmed through a DNA. But the whole thing is that it is very, very difficult to legislate or even rule on any matters to do with faith, because faith is supposed to be very personal, voluntary, and the children who are involved in this case who are somehow like collateral damage actually were following their own parents' directives, which is actually what the law states here, that a parent is supposed to be in charge of their own children. So it's very unfortunate. It's a quagmire of sorts. But yes, the death toll is still mounting.
Now, what are the families saying of the families of loved ones who lost their lives in this particular manner, including the children? What are the families that are still there saying with regards to this particular case?
No, most of them are just lamenting and wringing their hands in desperation, because clearly nothing much can be done, and the state is also in the same situation. However, calls are now emerging from mostly the members of parliament to create a legislation that will govern such kind of stuff, because clearly as it is, if Mackenzie is allowed to go scot-free, if this sect is allowed to go unpunished, then it might give ideas to so many other people who can also start their own stuff and then end up killing more people and actually causing more social injustices on individuals and families without any recourse in law. So that the MPs actually spoke today, this afternoon at around 12 local time, and called for a legislation to govern and actually clamp down on sects that preach such kind of stuff, because clearly for now, the much that the state can do is to charge Mackenzie with hate speech, which is not a criminal offense, but more of a civil thing that is payable through a fine.
Very interesting one, Alex, unfolding. And now with Mackenzie calling for his release, as he realizes that there isn't much of a case or a leg to stand on from the government side or from the authorities. Do you think he will be released from prison?
Not really. It might not happen that way because of the state wanting to manage public anger and emotions. So it's possible that he could be allowed to stay in custody, but the issue here is whether he will continue instigating these kinds of preachings to his followers outside the courts. And this in itself raises focus on the prison system in Kenya. It seems like clearly anybody who is in prison can be able to continue with their criminal acts even within from behind the bars. This in itself is what is now causing a lot of anger and criticism towards the state and also the minister and the Ministry of Interior, which is in charge of internal security.
Alex, just for interest's sake, have you sat down with family members who have lost their loved ones during this crisis 2 years ago, with over 400 people having lost their lives after they listened to Mackenzie?
Yes, we actually spoke to several family members, and most of them were from Western Kenya, and most of them shared the journey of their deceased relatives and how they tried to locate them until now this happened, because most of them actually left without saying where they were heading to until now this thing unfolded. But the whole thing is that apart from the emotional aspect of it, the anger in the families and also the calls and the fact that they can do nothing beyond just burying their own and actually mourning and then doing nothing much. But most of the people who are drawn to this sect were actually people who are learned, who are very smart, but had some other issues. I think it is all tied to the state of the economy and joblessness in the country. That is what drove them to him, and because he was preaching hope, telling them that this world is too hard for you, it's too tough for you, kindly come and join the God and be in heaven, and there will be no trouble, nothing more.
Well, Alex, we'll leave it there for today. Thank you for joining us on Africa Update.
Thank you very much, Lulu.
That's Alex Kiarrie, Channel Africa's correspondent in Kenya, joining us on the line. It is 29 after 12 Central African time, and we're coming to you live from Johannesburg in South Africa. Today on hashtag Africa Update Ask, we focus on the story that we just unpacked with our correspondent in Kenya, where a Kenyan official fearing a doomsday cult suspected of causing the death of more than 400 people is making a comeback, with the alleged leader, Paul Mackenzie, who is supposed to be on trial, allegedly telling his followers that they would get to heaven more quickly if they stopped eating. Now, our question to you today is, what do you make of these scams? And why is it so easy for people to fall for such scams? Share your thoughts and your views on all our social media platforms. That's on X, Instagram at Channel Africa 1, on Facebook at Channel Africa. You can also send us your comments and voice notes to +2763 at 406 9126. Hashtag Africa Update Ask. It is 12:30. And our news headlines up next with Matapelo Mahapi.